Okay, hello and happy Tuesday, and thank you for coming back. I just wanted to, and if you guys, I'm going to do a little bit of screen sharing, but I wanted to go back and recap. So I know that I did the PDF that asked you questions last week about developing your I help statement. And there's a number of reasons why to do this. I mean, it's been super cathartic for me, and also a lot of light bulbs going off about how to share more effectively, what to write up, and actually the process of slowing down to speed up. And I'll get into that for a little bit. And I am going to refer to notes because I have a lot of notes here from when I took the PDF that I uploaded. And that, again, if you are having trouble viewing anything, you go into our Fully Activate You.com website, go to the training vault and the post vault, I should say post vault, and you will see the YouTube link, and then you will see on one of the cards that says Lunch and Learns. The YouTube link for this video will be there, and I'll upload this second one today. But more importantly, the PDF. So you can actually go through the process of writing this out. I do everything in pencil, so I didn't upload it because I didn't want to copy it back over in pen. But I do pencil for the reason that I can think about it, rewrite it, re-say it. And getting through those questions about your personal growth, how has it changed your mindset, and really speaking to yourself again about where it was and what was the reason why you said yes to social selling all the way back at the beginning. And I explained last week as part of my testimony was that I was in a direct sales company before this, but that going back to what exactly, if I could define, yes, a lot of things about our culture, the camaraderie, the mentorship as opposed to competitiveness, those were a lot of things that became out, but what was that real gut decision or response of why I said yes to social selling? And I did share in last week's testimonial that it was really based on the fact a lot of decisions we make, I was fearful about making my house payment. So that's the woman that I want to speak to, because when I got my direct sales business to the point where it covered my house payment every month as a newly single mom, and being in another business that was all commission, that gave me the sense of peace. And so that's whether it's a situation like that for you, but going back and really, I had to go through layers of questions to come up with that. And then that's who I'm actually speaking to. So that was really helpful as far as, the solution that you have to offer, and all these PDFs are in there, but it's really helping. And this week, I want to go over how you can take the PDF and actually make one problem sheet, and that problem sheet will actually help you develop your social media, your posts, and how you speak to people. If you can get really good at the slowing down to actually move faster and getting people to respond to the questions, then it becomes easier for you to actually eventually speed up, if that makes sense, because you're really speaking to yourself, and you have to have something that makes them want to ask you more about your business. So I am going to go to screen sharing. I always get nervous on screen sharing because I'm really bad about this, and Jen is smirking, so I'll probably take Jen and make her a co-host just in case, because I think it looks like it on my computer and then it doesn't do it. But I'm going to go to my Canva because I just have 3 slides to show today. I didn't want to have a full-blown worksheet, but I want to explain to you how you develop this. And then I will actually pull out notes that I made on how I'm changing what I do. I am actually challenging myself on my social media not to not to mention herbal alchemy for 30 days, not the products, not the business, but actually get into more conversations where people get to know who I am, what I stand for, because there are things that I want to dispel and there are people that I want to attract. So I'm spending a lot more time. Yes, you may see my posts and things like that, but I'm spending a lot more time interacting with people to develop more relationship and ask more questions. And that's solely a result of doing this transformational conversations and rethinking how I approach people. We all have that point of at some point in our social selling career where we verbally threw up, and you have to go back and say, how could I have done that different to speak to the needs of the person rather than sharing all my stuff right now. So that this has been extremely helpful in doing that. So I'm going to go to my screen share and go into my Canva. And then I never know if I'm getting to, where is it? Can you see it? Oh, here we go. And that you all are seeing it. So I'm going to minimize this.
I only see a blank screen so far.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me minimize all of you down and go to present. Okay, do you guys see that?
No, I still see a blank screen. I'm not sure if anyone else can see something different.
I see a blank screen too. So,
and see, mine says your screen is screen sharing is paused. Let's open that up. And then the red light. Okay, why isn't it going to here? I don't know why on my computer it automatically. Okay. See, okay, I might just have to. I always should stop and do this. I don't know why it says at the top I have a yellow thing, Jen, that says my screen sharing is paused.
Are you the only one as host? Let's see, hold on.
I made you co-host.
Okay.
Resume share. New share.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna stop participant sharing and then try again.
Okay. Let's
And
see.
then try it again. There we go. Perfect. I see you now.
Okay. Now, sorry about that, guys. So I did this, and that is actually not the one I need. So let me go to hang on, here it is. Present. Okay. So perfecting your I help statement. Do you see that now at the top? Okay, very good. So I actually typed this up, and I will show you that I had this all written out. So when you get to your I help statement, which is the final page on your actual last week's PDF, you get to, and what I noticed in following up and looking at this in coaching, my first initial, I had several versions. And I had to keep going back to who am I speaking to? Because if I got in, and we say an elevator pitch, but no one's in an elevator anymore. So if we really went to a networking event, because I actually tested this out the last 2 networking events that I was at, one before I went on vacation, and I just went to one last week. And literally, I was like, be very mindful of what you say and the expression on the person's face and how they respond back. So your I help statement should really be how you naturally speak. And samples of how mine evolved are below. The first one I wrote, I help divorced women find financial security and flexibility to support their families and provide time freedom to heal their family, and so they can look forward to their future again. Who would really say that? I would never really say that. But I can tell you that I'm also in this group of over 30 people. Their I help statements are 3 lines long like that. That is not something. So I had to stand corrected with my own, and I actually had to try them out on my husband. And then I actually tried it out on 2 friends, and then tried it when I went to the last 2 networking. Then I came back and I was like, cut it down. I help women who have been out of work because I was out of work for 18 years. Hadn't done a single work thing. And I said, part of my story is I had a PhD in stain removal. I can definitely take down the house with cooking and cleaning. Had no business sense whatsoever because that just wasn't my focus. So I help women who have been out of work re-enter the workforce with a sense of confidence and purpose. Because why did I go back? Yes, I'm going to be brutally honest here. I had a settlement. You get essentially, now they call it something different, alimony and child support. I could exist, but I couldn't plan for retirement. And so I also needed to make sure that I could keep the home that I lived in. If I would have sold that, I would have been financially fine, but you have to also make sure you have a place. What apartment am I going to live in with 5 kids? So you have to make sure that when you're going back into the workforce, you're also planning for your future. And then I was like, well, that's not really, it's still ambiguous. I help women empower and equip themselves to create wealth in a consolidated time frame. I was like, that's shorter, but everyone has a different version of what wealth is. You know, we're not here at Herbal Alchemy to live like Beyonce. So I was just like, that's not really it either, because I don't want the focus to be the word wealth. Here's what I finally got to, and this is 2 networking events, probably spending, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour asking 2 different friends and my husband. I help divorced women find a way to make their house payment while they take care of their children. You say that at a networking event, you say that when you meet someone, and I'm like, that makes sense. So my point here is try your I help statements. And then if you'll go back, those of you who are friends of mine in social media, or I can take a screenshot of the post, I talked about one of the most meaningful things was during this time that I entered my first direct sales company, I had a sick kid. And so I did a post on that, and I tweaked it a little bit for that actual post. But essentially what I said on that, and I got a ton of engagement, was that I help divorced women find a way to make their house payment and take care of their children, because that was relatable. And the story that I told was relatable to my situation. And again, who are you looking for in your business? Your ultimate goal is speak to yourself. And it takes all of these words down. And somebody would say, well, I'm not divorced. You could tweak. I help women like me. You can use words like that. Those are normal conversation tools that essentially allow you to speak to your person you're talking to elicit the response back. Well, I'm not in a divorce situation. Oh, I know. Well, you might very well just be in a situation. Tell me about, is there something financially that's stressing you? Most people these days will answer yes to that question, just because of the things that we have going on all around us. So I just wanted to show you the evolution. And this took a good 2 to 3 weeks. So I don't want you to feel like that you have to do this immediately, but being mindful, it gives you a tool of how to take your I help statement. Because I went through the coaching that I'm doing and probably read over 60 I help statements, and they were all ambiguous, like version 1, version 2, version 3, and they didn't resonate at all. Because really, and I would look at that and be like, what in the world does that mean? Find mentorship, and always the stressed out mom. Okay, let's be really frank and honest here, because I don't want to waste our time. What mom isn't stressed out? So again, you're talking to everyone there. What mom doesn't think about how to take care of their family and have an income stream? That's why we're all here. So let's just negate the Captain Obvious and use our conversations concisely and more effectively to elicit someone asking you, tell me more about it. That's exactly what you want to know. And in that moment, when they do ask, don't throw up further. That's not your window. It's working on developing what I call the next page. So let me go on to that. I know this is just blank. I left it blank on purpose because I will show you how I filled mine out. And again, mine was all chicken scratch and erased and all that. So I went to but what you're going to do here is at the top, write your I help statement. Then you're going to go through and actually say, how did that impact? Well, not being able to provide my family caused fear. The potential of not knowing whether or not I had a solid income coming in to cover my house payment. And we'll go through this, but I want to show you that this is just your worksheet. You could have 6 categories. I actually filled out 2 of these. The one that I received from the coaching I'm doing had 4. And I just thought I ended up using 2 pages. So I'm just going to make a blank one for you that you can use. But here's what I actually filled out. I felt overwhelmed by having too many bills and not enough time to add any more to my income. That was truly the problem. And so when you can develop that, and by writing it out and writing this down, it allows you to each one of these things, the impact, the question, the feeling, you tap into that so that you can bring that out in the person that you're conversing with. And there's a reason why you do that. Also, so the impact, I didn't feel like I had enough time. I never finish stuff before I have the next thing on my plate. So what is the number one thing that people say when I say that I have a direct selling company alongside another business that I run, my real estate business? They're like, I don't have time for that. Why? Because I'm too busy and I'm overwhelmed. Number one reason. So that's what I wanted to focus on so that I could really dial into how to speak to somebody who doesn't feel like they can add this on. And you can go to a completely other side of this and do this entire process for product. So just so you know, you can have a business I help and a product I help. So, and in that regard, I thought that one was easier to do. So I tackled the more difficult one. People obviously that don't want to have the negative effects of chemicals all over and toxins on the surface of their skin. But going to impact number 3, how did that affect me? I feel cluttered. I feel disorganized. I never have the time. And then actually my physical environment became much more disorganized as my brain got disorganized. There's a physical manifestation, generally speaking, of clutter that you have in your head becomes clutter physically in your home. And so then you ask the question, and these questions are really important because the questions help you start to change how you interact with people. And writing out these questions, the purpose of it is so that you know in advance how to ask questions of other people. How do you feel about having less time and energy? Well, most people, the feeling that they're discussing or trying to overcome is guilty, overwhelmed, confused. Why do you add more to your plate when you don't have when you haven't gotten previous tasks completed? Because you lack confidence, you can't focus, things like that. Are you overwhelmed? Are you comfortable with your overall physical health and environment? Well, my environment stresses me out too because I don't have time to deal with it. So these are the ways that you understand that you are going to write out the impact of your I help statement or the person you're talking to, how to ask questions that lead them to your solution, because this is, if we slow down and get more information from the pertinent person you're talking about, they feel like you've shared something with them. So even if they want to purchase from you, they feel like they have a connection or a bond with you that helps them resonate with you. Because essentially what we've always talked about is that people are buying you before they buy the product. You may have something that you want. And certainly if someone, and I can stop screen sharing, those are just the really brief examples I wanted to show you. But how does this change the conversations you're having? When you start to do you're thinking about I help, and again, I can take a screenshot of my social media and I'll put down the one that I tested this on with, here's where I am. Here's what I've come from, and here's the vehicle I used. You're showing people the vehicle, and it allows you to interact that way. So then they come back, and over time, when you continue to be authentic to who you are, and sometimes I hate that word because it's overused, but when you're talking to yourself, there's no way not to be more true to yourself. And so you can reference a commonality. Oh, you feel like you just can never get your work done. I felt like that too. Oh, you feel like you don't have time with your family and you're gone to work. You love to work at home. I felt like that too. You see where I'm going with this? You develop a commonality without verbally doing the diarrhea because you have a concise I help statement. You can ask for advice. When you're writing out a post and you're always saying, this happened for me, this happened for me, try to change the wording and really look at the post in transcript first. And I've started to do that more just on my notes on my phone. And where there's can I ask a question? Ask for advice. Have you felt like this? I used to feel like this and I'm glad, but I could still use advice. Now, I did an advice post last week and I didn't get a lot of engagement, but I had one comment that you can take offline and started conversation. So sometimes looking at, not just the quantity of responses you get, or I put out and I asked for advice and I only got one response. One is better than the 0 you had when you started today. So sometimes it's also looking at how to have conversations that actually result in quality and not quantity, but asking for advice. Have you felt like this? I feel like I've gotten better, but I still have a long way to go in this area. And whether it's, working from home, being more on your schedule, working more a schedule. Do I have something, when we talk about passive income, this was so great. This continued while I went on a 3-day weekend, just things like this. And then looking to connect with people over problems. When you look at that problem sheet, you can actually say, okay, this is who I was when I started this. Here's the problems I had, and also acknowledging the progress. But you can connect with individuals over those problems, and you don't really have them defined until you write them down. And so, hey, I saw you were struggling with juggling your mom while being stressed about bills. I was wondering if you found any solutions. I'm on that same type of path. That elicits someone to engage with you. So really asking questions and then entering the conversation that they're having in their mind as far as, I can't do that. I don't have time for it. I can't start. How you go about doing that. If I told you that you utilized your social media as a selling tool and the time that you spent on it, no more than an hour a day, could result in a couple $100 at the end of the month, would that entice you? And that's how I alleviated some of this stress. So again, taking more of that, but being able to bond with these types of asking for commonality, asking for advice, learning to connect with people, and asking questions in your content. So if you do one of those good posts and that has an explanation, that you're asking questions throughout it, and it's not just an I statement. I found it really interesting now that I've done about concludes 6 weeks by the end of this week of this transformational conversation. The interesting thing is I am seeing it on big social media people. This morning, if you follow Jasmine Star at all, she's done 2 posts in the last week. Now, yes, you do the quick, cute, fun ones. You still do the reel, but you can actually take the information and repurpose it and utilize it on different platforms. But I've noticed in the last week, as I'm more mindful, that even people that are social media trainers and that are going back to telling a story in these conversations. Now, maybe it's just like everything. When you want to buy a new white car, you see white cars everywhere. Maybe Jasmine Star was doing it for the last, umpteenth years, but now I'm more mindful. And the more conversations you have, the more you will see the shift and change of that's what she does to draw people in, to get people to respond to her. And it's done even by large people. And I know I don't have that following or anything else, but I'm just saying that when you tell a story, when you engage with people, when you lower your wall a little bit, then you're really going to get to the heart of what matters to them. And what matters to them is going to be why they join you. So I will post just those 3 slides to help you with your problem worksheet. I'll do the same thing that I did last week and update the card on our post vault to help you. I know that Julie this week reached out to me. This concludes our training for today. I don't know if anybody developed an iHelp statement that wants to share it, but if you're still working on that, give yourself some time and grace. This has been, like I said, an over a month project, and I will just super quick show you just in one day only on Sunday. So I have my little notebook that I do. All of the content ideas and ways, this sheet is completely full, and under this, I told you all, I went on a fishing trip. I put down trying something new outside of my comfort zone, outdoor girl versus indoor girl, learn something that makes you uncomfortable. How has loving someone changed you? All of those are reels content. That was one vacation week. And after having transformational conversations, I actually Sunday did drafts for that one topic in multiple different social media platforms. So you see, eventually, after you do this and ruminate with it and do those worksheets, that's one. I did 6 categories like that over personal life changes, a book that I read while I was on vacation, what that fishing trip meant to me, and birthday interests, who's coming up with spring gardening. I mean, I have 4 more that I need to fill out. So then that challenge of how do I create content or what am I going to say becomes so much easier because you've gone through and done the foundational work of how to speak to people. And that's what I want this eventually to become for you. And I got super excited that I did that all in 30 minutes, I have to say, while I was watching TV. It just came so much easier. So I want that to be that's what happens for you as well. So I stayed on a little longer. Does anybody have any comment? And if not, we will just, I'm not looking at the chat, but if not, we will just go and we will see you next week on Tuesday Lunch and Learn, and I will get this uploaded this afternoon. So thank you all for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mary.
Great job.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.
You're welcome.